Welcome to Global Optimum, the podcast dedicated to making you a more effective altruist. I am Daniel Gambacorda. We're going to start off today with a groaner. What is effective altruists' favorite kind of soup? Their favorite soup is existential bisque. Bam! Soup humor right off the top. This episode will feature two segments, Apply Psychology, in which I will apply our understanding of modularity to identify some psychological pitfalls and how to address them. And the other segment will be Check This Rec, in which I provide you with a recommendation of a book, article, podcast that perhaps you are not familiar with. Let's get into it. Last episode, I talked about modularity, the idea that the mind is made up of many specialized parts, which are sometimes functionally encapsulated from one another. If you haven't listened to the previous episode, I do recommend that you listen to it first, since in this segment, I'm going to talk about ideas that assume you know the stuff in the first episode. This segment is going to be about applying modularity to do useful things, like improving your performance at various tasks. I'll begin with a question. Say you are running a race. You've fallen behind, but in the last moments of the race, you get a sudden burst of energy. You run so fast that you're able to speed past the person in second place. You pass the person in second. What place are you in now? We'll get back to that in a bit. If the brain is made up of many parts, then what is a good module taxonomy? Can we group modules into categories to make them easier to understand? There have been many theories put forward which divide the mind into some number of basic parts. For example, psychologists might talk about fast versus slow processes, emotional versus rational, controlled versus automatic, old versus new. Lest you think 2 is the magic number, there are theories which use a different number of buckets. Freud talked about the id, ego, and superego. According to the triune brain theory, we have a reptilian complex, a paleo-mammalian complex, and a neo-mammalian complex. Some of these theories are better than others. I just want to say there are many ways of carving up the mind, and there are plenty of theories. Those theories are not necessarily consistent with one another. I'm going to use Daniel Kahneman's theory, which divides the mind into two parts, which he calls System 1 and System 2. The main reason I'm using this theory is I expect my listeners to be familiar with it, and it is good enough for our purposes. I don't actually use System 1, System 2 in my thinking about psychology, and certainly most psychologists don't, if for no other reason that most psychologists are studying topics different from what Kahneman studied, and so his theory isn't very useful. But it's fine as an abstraction, as long as we remember that it is a useful simplification. In actuality, the brain is made up of many different modules, and the modules have some combinations of features, but dividing up modules into two buckets will work fine for where we are going. I'll quickly go over Kahneman's two-bucket theory, where the mind is divided into System 1 and System 2. System 1 refers to brain processes that are fast, unconscious, automatic, emotional, your gut reaction to something. Examples of the things System 1 does include see that an object is at a greater distance than another, localize the source of a specific sound, complete the phrase, war and blank. So probably you can quickly come up with war and peace. Other things System 1 does: display disgust when seeing a gruesome image. Solve 2 plus 2 equals what?